The trade deal agreed with the UK and Australia will eliminate tariffs on imports and exports. Hurrah! That means goods made in each country and then exported to the other for sale should soon be cheaper than they are currently. What tremendous news. The scrapping of tariffs is expected to represent a significant boost for the massive Australian agriculture sector. Oh. Paving a way for cheaper lamb and beef on supermarket shelves in the UK. Except they probably won't be, because they've got to come from all the way over there. UK farmers, however, fear that they will be unable to compete with cheap imports and have expressed concerns that Australian goods are produced to lower animal welfare standards than in Britain. Not to mention the fact that transporting them from the other side of the world means that they will have a bigger transport footprint than from any other place in the world. You know, it's hard to claim that we're lowering our carbon footprint if we're importing our food from as far away as you can get without going into space. The free trade deal, you'll be glad to know, should also mean cheaper Australian wine like Jacob's Creek.
Booze.
You know how much the tariff is currently on a bottle of Australian wine? I mean, you've heard about the great stories about, it's going to be cheaper and we're going to have more Australian goods and the shelves are going to be bursting with this, with all this cheap stuff. It's going to be tremendous. You'll never have had it so good. You know what the tariff is currently on a bottle of Australian wine? You know that they're going to eliminate, that you won't have to pay anymore? Have a wild stab in the dark. Go on, I double dare you. The tariff on a bottle of Australian wine, the tariff that they're going to eliminate, that you will not have to pay anymore. 7 pence. We'll save 7 pence a bottle. Which is great. Because before, we could only buy wine from Italy, Bulgaria, Spain, Germany, Portugal, Hungary, the US, Argentina, South Africa, and France. All of which are nearer. And in case you wanted to buy only patriotic, non-European surrender wine, you should know that Jacob's Creek is owned by the French.
Oh no!
It's French. Jacob's Creek. And then there's all that cheaper Australian confectionery that we've heard so much about. You know, if only we had some British sweets and chocolates in the shops in this country. Wouldn't that be marvellous? But don't dismiss the savings, though. The UK government is predicting that British households, and you may have read this figure, and it seems like a large figure until you think about it for a moment. The UK government, on trumpeting this new tremendous trade deal that we have with Australia, just about the furthest place you can go in the world that actually has people standing on it, is going to save us £34 million a year in total. £34 million a year, which is a huge amount for you if you had all of it. But you won't. £34 million a year saving in total is 50p a year each, is what we'll save. We could call it our Brexit bonus. 50p a year. That's a penny a week per person. What will you spend your winnings on? Think hard. The UK-Australia trade relationship was worth just shy of £14 billion last year, but both sides are hoping that figure will surge in the wake of the deal being implemented. That's right. The government's own figures suggest that we are looking at up to a 0.02% increase in the nation's wealth over 15 years.
Oh, fabulous.
It'll take us 15 years for the nation's wealth to increase by 0.02%. And to think that some critics are saying that it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. It's also desperate, is what it is. No wonder Bodger is reported to not want to do the job much. It's been suggested that Bodger Johnson has already planned his exit. He's planned his Downing Street exit, says Dominic Cummings in his latest blog.
Boring.
Oh, another screed from the desk of Megamind. Johnson's former chief advisor said Boris Johnson does not want to go on and on in power, quoting the phrase used by Margaret Thatcher, who served 11 years in Number 10. Cummings said, unlike other MPs, this one has a clear plan to leave at the latest a couple of years after the next election. He wants to make money and have fun, not go on and on. And that sounds exactly right, doesn't it? And it's bang on trend for this man with the thinnest of acts. It's not a government, it's more like a smash and grab raid, isn't it? And if Cummings is right, Bodge could resign as soon as 2025. Well, don't hang around on our account, Bodge. At this rate, there won't be any of us alive in 2025. According to a reliable source, Bodger said this job is too much like hard work. God, he really is our version of Trump, isn't he? Who knew it was going to be so hard? He said it's like pulling a giant 747 down the runway with a harness on your back. Every morning you get up and have to start pulling, he says. He said, I don't want to go on and on like Thatcher and Blair. I want to get through this parliament, win again, and then head off soon afterwards. I can't wait till I go back to writing, he says, to have fun and make money. You hear that, Carrie? Your current husband says he wants to have fun.
Warning, warning.
Another source said Johnson is fiercely protective of his reputation as a writer. What, the writer who made up the quote from his godfather, the historian Colin Lucas, for a front-page article about the discovery of Edward II's Rose Palace, when he attributed to Colin the view that Edward II and Piers Gaveston would have been cavorting together in the Rose Palace, whereas Gaveston was executed 13 years before the palace was built. Or when he wrote lies about the EU, like they had plans to introduce same-size Euro coffins and wanted to regulate the shape of bananas and ban prawn cocktail crisps. Is that the reputation as a writer that he wants to protect? Or that article in The Spectator where he blamed Liverpool fans for being drunk for the Hillsborough disaster and suggested that the people of the city were wallowing in their victim status. Is that the reputation you want to protect, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
And of that claim that Johnson wants to barge in and take over and fill his boots and barge out again, that he sees running this country as an annoying stepping stone that he must endure before making it big. Well, the Prime Minister's press secretary refuted the suggestion that he was planning on standing down. The PM, she said, has actually been asked this before and has said himself it's utter nonsense, so that still stands. Number 10 said the claims that Boris Johnson had compared being Prime Minister to pulling a jumbo jet and was too much like hard work and aimed to leave office in 4 years to make money and have fun were untrue. And you only know something is true when the Prime Minister's office says that it isn't. So Boris Johnson could step down as Prime Minister in 4 years, it was claimed by Dominic Cummings, and that running the country is like pulling a jumbo jet down the runway every day. Oh, poor Bodge. He thought that being king would be fun. He thought it would mean him lounging around on a daybed, being fed grapes by busty wenches. But then the nasty COVID virus came along, and now he's a grumpy bodger.
Stop whining.